4 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Someone like to move the adoption of the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, carried. Next meeting, February the 23rd, 2021, and the first item is going to be a guest, Andy Hobbs, is going to join us to tell us a bit about what's happening in Britannia. Andy, are you there?
Would you like me to leave the video off? Or is it okay to have it on? Hi.
I should be able to put it on, I think.
I see you. We see you.
Okay.
Looking great.
Well, good afternoon, Chairperson, and through the Chair. Just thanks to the committee and to staff for allowing me to have some time today. We intended, I'm here today as the Chair of Britannia Society, and we had intended to provide an update, probably a year ago, and certainly during RMF, but obviously COVID has affected all that, so I decided that I'd have to do it remotely rather than coming in person. So thank you for the time. All of what I'm about to say, of course, it should be acknowledged, happens with the support of Council and at the direction of Council. And we thank Council for the support that they've given to the site over the past few years. So this update will be quick, and I'll just start with something to do with the Providence flagship. So what I'm going to try and explain to you is just some of the things we've been doing during the COVID year. It's been a funny year in some ways, you know, in many ways nothing much has happened, but oddly enough, we've been able to get a fair bit done in 2020 and the end of 2019. So I'm going to be attaching some dollar figures to some things because I want there to be an understanding among the committee that we try to give back as well. We're not always just asking you for things. We're actually trying to contribute. So that's what I'm trying to convey. So some of the highlights include this. As you know, the Providence flagship, that agreement has started. And in addition to the contribution from the city, the society also contributes its own money to that arrangement. So for 2020, we contributed $8,333, and we will do so again in 2021 and 2022, the same amount. The Canada Summer Jobs Program is another program that we've assisted the city with. That is, in last year, was a program worth $14,000 where 2 summer students were employed. My understanding is that it would have been very difficult to open a site to the degree we did last summer with those summer students. And the society fronted $7,166.50 to the city so that a grant can happen because you have to have the money, half of it up front, and that came from the society. We were reimbursed for that amount. We still incurred some expenses that aren't reimbursed. In 2021, we'll do that again. This grant will be for $20,000 for 2 positions, and in the end, it will actually cost the society $5,000 of its own money to make that happen. But it's worthwhile because it helps the site and it helps it stay open. Next, I'd just like to mention that we applied for the BC Heritage Award for a volunteer who's a longtime volunteer named Elaine Graham, who some of you may know. She's worked there a long time, and she works particularly hard in the Mirikami Garden. I don't know what the decision of that is yet. Next is the CIRUP, the COVID Emergency Relief Infrastructure Grant. We applied for that with no strings attached, but we did receive $2,000. That will go back into the site, into some project which we will work with the city on. The Kishi family recognition, our board passed a motion for that, and we've worked with city staff on recognizing the Kishi family more fully, and we've contributed $1,000 towards that program. I've talked to the Kishi family myself, as has staff, and that's moving forward. We have another project called the Yard Arm Project, and that is to investigate the possibility of having a Navy or a marine-related yard arm, like a flagpole, somewhere on the site. We've committed $1,000 to that project. We do have the cannon donation that has taken place. I know the chair is familiar with that. We've established a working boat committee. That committee will work on not only the Richmond Maritime Festival, but also some rendezvous events with working boats, and possibly at some point down the road, some future activities in the daily dock activity. We passed a motion to commit $10,000 of the Society's money to a boat project at Britannia. That has yet to be determined, but the money is committed from the Society. We also have committed to spend $8,875 to complete work on the Burnaby boat, which some of you are familiar with. That is a city boat and a city project, but the Society wants to participate, so that money is committed to that boat. We have another motion that we passed, which was $350, which we spent on a staff recognition and volunteer recognition event. That's from the Society. We worked with city staff on cleaning up the Britannia building, the East Ways, and the Richmond Boat Builders. We applied to the Richmond Heritage Commission Awards on behalf of Robbie Johnson, who I know the chair is very familiar with. We essentially donated the site that Britannia is on. Unfortunately, we weren't successful on that, but I did see who was awarded that award, and that was a very worthwhile recipient. We waived membership fees for 2020 and up into July 2021, and then we'll reassess because we didn't feel members should have to pay a fee for a COVID type of year. We applied to Heritage BC, the local government infrastructure grants at Britannia. That's to improve the ways and the carriages at the Britannia building. That's the big building that goes in, has a ramp going into the water. And we don't know the decision on that, but that is for $310,000, so that's a pretty substantial amount. And if we get that, that'll be great. The city submitted its COVID safety plan. We changed our purpose and our constitution to make it more inclusive of the entire site. So now we focus on celebrating the entire site as a living museum, wooden boats, collaborating with the city. Those things are all specifically in there. So it's not just focused on the boat builders building or wooden boats in particular, although that's still a big part of it. Now, I would just like to wrap up quickly by saying, as I mentioned at the beginning, none of this happens without council's support and council's direction, but the Society is working hard with city staff to implement that direction and make it happen on the ground. And it doesn't happen without staff support of the Society, and I will mention a couple names. Because Rebecca Clark, for instance, is very instrumental in supporting our Society when it comes to communication and consultation on larger issues like the Phoenix, like the rebranding exercise, the interpretive plan, the entire Stevenson Heritage site discussion that's happening. She's been very helpful to us and helpful in guiding the board through some of those quite complex topics. At the Britannia site itself, I think it's important that the committee knows that you have some great staff. There's Lindsay and Jeff, Gabrielle, Nursel, and everything I've listed would not happen without the leadership and commitment of your site supervisor, Tricia Buman. She's been very helpful to the Society and works very hard at making improvements of the site. And I think we'd have a very short to non-existent list without her help. So that's our update. And I also just want to mention that I did drop shirts off for you. I'm the fashion model right now. I know Harold, or the chair, yours you had a little bit earlier, but I'd just like to say it's just a token of gratitude. We meant to hand them out at Richmond Maritime Festival, and if the size is wrong, that won't be the first time in my life I've ever bought something the wrong size. So just give me a call and let me know, and we can exchange that, no problem. We have other shirts, so don't worry about that. Just let me know. And that's it for the update. Thank you for the time, Chair, staff, councilors, committee people. I appreciate it.
Any questions?
I have a question, Harold. If I may, I put my hand up.
Yeah, Bill.
Yeah, a couple questions. Thank you very much for the presentation. It's great to get an update like that, and I hope it's recorded in the minutes with the update. It appeared to me along the way there are a couple things that you were proposing. like the yard arm and this, the flag, et cetera, where the city could also match your funds that you're putting forward to it to make it actually happen. Has there been a request from yourself and the society into the city for some of these improvements? I think some of them are great ideas that I heard. So I'm just curious to see whether we can put them in our budget and help out to see they happen to enhance the site.
Sure, through the chair. No, not everything has a proposal that's gone through the city. The yard arm has not. That's just an idea right now. We've committed the money. The Kishi family recognition, I know city staff have been working on it at the site. Gabrielle in particular has done a really good job reaching out to the family and doing some research on it. So I'm not sure at what point that is in the process, but that one is being worked on.
Well, thank you for bringing up the Kishi, obviously with the Kishi boat works and what have you. I mean, Harold will hopefully back my comment up. That was a mainstay of boats for years and years and years in the fishing industry, along with a number of other boat works along the Fraser River. But they were very, very key, and those are the kinds of things that we should get on to embellish in terms of preserving literally our heritage and their heritage of what they did. So there are some opportunities. I hope you can sit back and look at it and maybe put something forward. I'd be in favor of seeing something coming from yourself and the society.
Well, thank you, and through the chair, something will come forward. It's all a matter of timing and working it out with staff as well.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Okay, Carol Day is next.
I think I've got it worked out now. Sorry about that. Thank you for the presentation.
Are you still there? Okay, I guess Carol's got problems. I do have a comment while Carol's trying to get back on stream. Bill mentioned the boats at Kishi. Myself and Jerry Miller and a couple others did a demonstration, goodness knows, about 20 years ago. I guess I found some pictures of it where we showed how they used to bring about 20 or 30 or 40 boats up on the ways and move them, shuffle them sideways. So that whole area to the west of the Kishi Boat Works was full of fishing boats every winter for paint jobs and repairs. The other question I do have, Andy, is that I like the idea of the yard arm, and I just wonder if you had considered actually a sailing ship yard arm. That's what they have at Mystic, Connecticut, and they use it for sail training.
Sure, we haven't considered anything specific, but we have talked about that, and that would be probably the coolest thing to do, right, is to have one actually from a ship, especially if it was related to the site, but we'll have to see what's affordable, what's practical, what works.
Right. Okay, and any more questions? Okay, thanks very much for your. Further, Andy, we've got the item coming up on the agenda regarding the First Nations House. Do you have any comments on that?
Chair, I did submit a comment, and simply the board is fully in support of the report that staff submitted. And if it's okay with you, I wouldn't mind listening to the open part of the meeting. And if I stay too long, just cut me off, somebody.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks for coming. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Rebecca and Jason.
Hello, Councillor Steves. Thank you for the introduction. I did want to mention that the work in the two upcoming reports has been directed by the conversations that we've been having with various stakeholders in the community for the Steveston Heritage Sites Interpretive Plan over this past year, as well as two memos that you all would have received in December. And I'm happy to respond to any questions you might have on those memos, which were the update on the Steveston Heritage Sites and the options for improving visitor experience at the Steveston Museum. And I'd also just like to note before taking questions on the report that the London Heritage Farm Society, we recently signed the operating agreement with them this past December, so that is officially in effect now. And I believe I was told by the chair of the society that she had sent a letter regarding this report as well. And with that, I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Okay, I see Bill's hand up. Was that there from before or now?
Oh, I'll take it down now, if I may. Just a couple of quick ones. I'll be supporting the report, obviously. But one of the things, we have photographs of the site in its originality. And I'm wondering why we can't continue to construct, for example, where the barn was. The fact that there was a waterway right in front of the gardens was part of the Fraser River coming by. We should have some interpretation of what that was like at that time, knowing what happened with the London farm on it. So I guess I'm trying to get us as original as possible on it, although I don't have any problems with some of the other things that you're putting out. I just take that under advisement as a comment, and I'll be looking forward to see what the final layout will be if there are other comments from committee.
Any comment on that from staff?
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, thank you for the comment. I am aware of the photos. We have done our best to stick close to the heritage integrity of the site as much as possible. It has evolved quite extensively over the past many decades, and my understanding is a lot to do with waterways have various regulations that we need to adhere to. I'm not sure if my colleague in Parks Planning would have anything else to add regarding that.
I'm just more concerned about interpretation, and to let people know this was, a 40-foot river coming by here, if you wish, at the west end, how it attached to London's, as the community of London's. We don't have to do anything other than put a 4x8 sign up and a photograph.
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, that is the plan, and we hope to enhance the interpretation around the water feature there so that we can better tell that story.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Carol, are you with us?
Chair, sorry, Grant told me how to make my hand work because it hasn't been working, and I now know how to make it work. So, sorry for the trouble there. My first question is: are there any members of the London Farm Society in on this meeting?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, my understanding is that most of the board members for the society are not particularly comfortable with the video conference format. So they chose to send a letter instead. Hopefully you've each received a copy of that letter.
No, I just, when this goes to council, it'd be nice if there was a representative of the society. I think there could be questions that people might want to ask, and, a letter's nice, but it's always nice to see a face as well. So I had a couple questions. It says to build a barn, it's going to be $910,000. What would it cost to move a barn?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, we have not established those costs as of yet, and I will let my colleague in Parks, Mr. Young, respond in more detail to that.
Councillor Day, as Rebecca noted, it's not something that we've actually looked at, or a site, to my knowledge, has been identified of a barn that we can actually move. If we had that knowledge of the size and the location of where the barn might be now, we would be able to cost it out. There's a number of different ways to do it. If it's close, it might be as simple as picking up and moving it, but it's more likely that it could be deconstruction and reconstruction of a barn and building it on a preferred site. But until we actually know, what it is what the scope of the work is, it's very difficult to provide a cost at this point in time.
So just a follow-up question to the chair. I mean, Councillor Steve did mention, what about the barn at Mylora? You know, it's just sitting there. If, for example, something like that became available, is it cheaper or more expensive to build new or move in a case like that?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, it's generally less expensive to build new.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought. My next question is on page PRCS 17. Item number 31 is what they, I'm sorry, I have to use a magnifying glass because the letter is so small. New open pole barn covered outdoor space, exact location to be determined. So is that, it's going to be an open pole barn? Is that the plan?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, that is what we are proposing in this plan, yes.
Okay, great. And my last question is, I get so many people asking me about the tea room. When is the tea room going to open? Is there any chance of maybe getting, you know, a contractor or somebody to take over that responsibility so we don't have to rely on the volunteers? Or do you think the volunteers would like to do that again, or is it a dead issue?
The chair to Councillor Day, we have been having discussions with the society about that over these past many months. Certainly, everything with COVID has made those discussions even more challenging. My understanding is that society is interested in continuing with tea service on special event days. We are still exploring options for potential other operators, but given that we have an operating agreement with the society, we would want to ensure that relationship was maintained, you know, when inviting any other third-party group to participate in this.
All right. Thank you very much.
Check out.
Very comprehensive proposal, and particularly I liked what's on PRCS page 12, the master plan highlights and the new elements. I think in 2018 I went to the Heritage Farm in Halifax with Councillor Steves, and I think I think I could say we were very impressed because, you know, it was very active. When we visited the site, there were many children, families visiting the site. Even on a normal day, it's not a holiday. So I think we can do the same thing by having the new elements and the highlights. And I also like the plan on PRCS 18, the division of the area into different zones, and also the new elements being planned for in each section. I think that would also attract more visitors and give them a very good impression and a better experience. So I'm happy with the plan. I don't think we need to go to every details, and I leave it to staff. Otherwise, this is a very good plan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for that. Linda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, and through you to staff, well, thank you very much for the report. I really appreciate it. And just wondering, was there any priority items or a timeline attached to any of the, you know, the updates to the existing features or some of the new elements?
Through the chair to Councillor McPhail, I think the first step after endorsement will be to work with the society as well as our colleagues in parks planning to see what we have budget for and what are the priority items from all of our perspectives. There are certainly some elements here that could be done, I think, within a fairly short time frame. So, you know, we would like to get going on some of this as soon as possible with the budget that we currently have.
All right, thank you. It's such a, you know, popular spot, and I think with so many people now going outdoors more often, and they walk by that, and I think, you know, many people would just love to be able to wander around it. And just with the store, I know that I used to buy products from the store there. I know they had their own branded products like tea and honey, and I think there was a biscuit mix. So just wondering, have they thought, I think they had clothing as well. Was there any thought of maybe perhaps a small online opportunity there?
Through the chair, Councillor McPhail, I know the society did look into that back in November when things were getting a little bit bad and they wanted to have some Christmas sales. I'm not sure where that ended up. Certainly their preference is to have more in-person opportunities. Yes. And we are working with them to support hiring of summer students so that there's the potential to open the gift shop in the house this summer. All, of course, dependent on being COVID safe.
Well, great. Yeah, that's good to hear. I know I've talked to a couple of small businesses who did pivot to online, and it's very cumbersome in the beginning to do that. So I understand that, but I'm missing their key. Thanks very much.
Okay, Michael.
Great. Thank you. And like Councillor Day, I did find the button after doing a software update. So it's hidden in the Reactions tab. Anyhow, finally. So I just had a couple questions to add into the mix here. I guess the first one, could I just get a quick refresher? The Richmond Rod and Gun Club building, I remember one of the options was was it the Sharing Farm location? There was never an option for utilizing it on the London Farm. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I'm not aware of those discussions.
Okay, I think they're just before your time then. But yeah, I know. I think I recall it being sharing.
Yeah, I can just clarify that no, London Farm wasn't identified as a potential site. We were looking at the south end of number 3 Road where the Quantum Farm School and the community gardens was the primary location.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then I also wanted to say thanks for the report and the highlights and the map and the vision for it. It looks great. And like what was asked about the open pole barn, I was going to ask about that as well, because back in October of last year, Greg Wheeler provided us the update on outdoor sheltered public space. And I've heard from a number of residents who are keen to see more of those in places where they frequent. And this would be one of them, so it's great to see that is included as a sheltered public space for use. And then finally, I guess there's another update. Is there like a utilization of this? I know this isn't totally in London Farms, but it's right next door. And I just wanted to know, is there an update coming on the utilization of the Sharing Farm in a different way than it is right now? Because I'm just seeing some partnership with what can be done at London Farms, where they could be growing stuff, putting it in pots across the street, and then the public works staff take it to the sites where it gets planted. So I'm just seeing if there could be a potential partnership with utilizing this 4 acres and what I think is more than 4 acres to the east.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, we have been working with the society to build some bridges with the Sharing Farm and the work that they're doing there. To date, the one thing that does take place is that I believe it's the Sharing Farm come and does the fruit cleaning of the fruit trees when that's when there's lots of fruit to have, and they take that and provide that to local families or put it into food service. So we'll continue to build those bridges as we can.
Great, and my last question area was the chicken coop component to this project. Would it be similar to what we've seen at the Terra Nova barn in previous years, where it's not necessarily interpretation or education, but just visual effect, and it would be like a coop on the back of a accessory building? Or would it actually be more at providing education and signage on how to do backyard chicken keeping?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, there is an existing standalone chicken coop structure. So this plan is looking to enhance that in a way that would be in an interpretive manner. So talking about how chickens would have been raised on farms in the past, as well as what is possible in modern times.
Oh, that's terrific. Great. Positive to hear. Thank you so much.
Okay, Bill. Okay, he already had his hand up from before. Okay, I just want to make a comment. I'm really happy with this report. I think I've been waiting for it for about 20 years, so it's a long time coming. And I'm hoping to see it in the next couple of years get underway. I did have a comment made to Rebecca by email. My Laura Farm barn, I'm not sure if it's still standing on number 5 road, but it was there all the way through the golf course years and was still there prior to Pythagoras acquiring. I don't know if it's there or not, but it's worthwhile looking. It's one of the smaller of the hay barns that were in Richmond, and it's probably the only one left. The people that built the playground, the timber playground at Terranova, were the ones that reconstructed a barn in Delta at Ladner, and it would be worthwhile having them take a look at it if that building is still there. So that's my only comment, because it would be nice to have a heritage barn from Richmond, but a pole barn is a good second best. Okay, any other comments from anybody? Okay, so someone like to move the motion? Okay, all those in favor? Contrary, carried. I'm not hearing much response here. Okay, the next item.
I have nothing further to add to the report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, the First Nations bunkhouse. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I have a couple, but I'll wait till everybody else is done. Okay, I don't see any hands up. I do have a referral I'd like to make afterwards. Oh, who's there? I just heard somebody saying something. Okay, I don't have a. I do have a referral I want to make afterwards, and I've emailed it to everybody that's on the committee.
Yep.
I think it's important that we move ahead with this. It was estimated to cost $160,000 to repair it, like about 30 years ago, and it's deteriorated badly since then. But it's an extremely important part of our heritage, and we're going to have to bite our lower lip and get on with it. So I'm certainly happy to see it coming forward. So with that said, my referral, I sent everybody an email, and I'll just mention it first, and then we can deal with the referral afterwards. The referral I made was to have staff investigate the potential for adding First Nations welcoming posts in front of the building. I've sent you pictures of First Nations houses in Duncan. This was taken in 1912, and it's almost identical to the Britannia Shipyard First Nations house. The archaeologist Leonard Ham investigated our building and found it had only one door in the center and a row of windows just exactly the same as this one. And of course it had either a shingle or a shake roof like this one and board and siding. So the buildings are almost identical. And so my thought was that we could ask the Musqueam carvers to carve some appropriate welcoming totems. I think my comments earlier, I made the wrong recommendation. I recommended house posts. These aren't house posts. They were welcoming totems out front. The house posts were ones that actually held the buildings up in the huge plank buildings that were more common. This is another picture I didn't send you. This is another one also at Duncan. This one looks taller because it's raised on a platform 3 feet above the ground. And finally, this is one of the of the welcoming posts of the 5 along in front of the building at Duncan. So after we adopt the report, I'd like to move a motion that we referring this to staff. Okay, we do have a couple of comments and questions. Linda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm glad you spoke about your referral. I support the report, and I know we've all heard many people in our community are concerned about the loss of heritage sites. So I think this is a great report, and as we move through, I think it would be a great addition to building out that site. So that was my question to you, your referral, and I think you've answered it. So the house post, that's right. Discussed in the report is not the same as a welcoming post then. They're two different things, is that correct?
That's correct, two different things, and I made a mistake of calling it a house post when I wasn't thinking when I made the original referral.
All right, I'm glad you cleared that up because it, in the report, and the report does identify that they did use and reference Leonard Ham, who you referenced in your recommendation as well. So I just wanted to clear that up. They're different entities, and I think we should work with First Nations on that as well, and you've mentioned that, so that's good. Thank you.
Jack.
Yes, thank you. Again, I like the report and like what is being recommended. And also I'm supportive of the motion that the Herald that you move. When I read the report, a few things came across my mind on PRCS 24. Well, in the second paragraph, I think it's something regrettable that, we have not acted on this building earlier, so that right now it's in such a poor station. I want to ask staff a question because in the subsequent paragraph, staff mentioned that it was so much deteriorated that none of the structure or the existing elements could be reused. And I want to ask staff, even though we may not be able to reuse the materials or the elements, could we reserve them for decorative use instead of just being as a display? But we try to replicate as much as possible its original appearance by using some of those elements for decorative purpose. Can that be done?
Through the chair to Councillor Au, yes, that is the intention. As we noted in the report, the building is heavily deteriorated. And most of the materials that are original to the building are not usable for any form of structural support or anything like that. But there certainly is an opportunity to be able to try to preserve things like, say, the windows or some of the siding, those types of things, and to be able to preserve them and use them for heritage purposes, for display purposes, that sort of idea. The other thing that we've also done is in our costing, we have allowed for a lot of the materials that the building is constructed of now are not made these days, the sizes and the shapes. So we've also allowed for that ability to build custom type materials to be able to replicate as close as possible the original look of that building.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, Bill.
Just a quick thing. I support the whole thing, and that you've gotten. Harold, thank you for the thing. I agree. I've got a couple of postcards like that as well, and it shows you the welcoming posts at the various structures throughout from here right to Prince Rupert. Just a quick question to staff. In the interpretive side, obviously, there will be many, possibly at the Musqueam, using this particular structure or have used it through the historical families. I know they do oral histories. But my question would be, has anybody gone through the BC Packers records to see what families were actually working in Steveston in the fishing industry at the turn of the century. For example, I've conferred with Harold, and Charles Point in 1894 was a fisherman. The Guerin family, Harold knows as well. They would have viewed and get some input from them, from their history. Stephen Point, the lieutenant governor, lived in behind the Stevenson Hotel in a shack out there, and Harold might have even seen it as late as the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So have we done any of that research through BC Packer records, which we have, I understand?
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, we have worked with the Gulf of Georgia Tannery and some of their records, as well as our archives, to do a preliminary exploration of what is available. So we have some leads, and the first step would be to follow up on those. There's certainly many groups and many families that we will want to reach out to, and so it will be a big project to get in touch with as many people as we can.
Okay, great stuff. Appreciate where you're going with that, because I think that's important. Have a building is great, but also the occupants of that building or whoever utilized it is probably just as important, especially when we can relate to them and they do exist and their lineage is still in the Lower Mainland and our particular, possibly at Musqueam. Okay, thanks very much.
Michael.
Through the chair to staff, just a couple questions. So I had ideas very similar to what Councillor Howe was just asking about with the repurposing of the panels, because to hear that the dating of the wood is like 1885 or maybe even older, some of the panels, I think it would be very wasteful for us to end the legacy of this one-of-a-kind structure by sending that to an incinerator or to the landfill. So, and then looking at the cost and hearing Mr. Young talk about we're going to custom make panels. Again, I'm not a builder, so forgive me on that, but can we not just go with the standard panels, so we don't need custom cut sizes, but then layer that with the existing panels and have enough of those that can at least cover the south side, ideally the three sides, south, east, and west. And they would just be the kind of decorative purpose over top of the standard cut pieces that you can buy for much less than the perhaps custom cost. So I'm not sure if facility staff can debunk my whole idea, or if they can say, you know what, maybe if we didn't have the custom cut, it would be half the value for the like-to-like reconstruction. I'm not sure if anyone can comment on that side of things.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Wolf, certainly staff are, if we have approval to proceed with this project, staff very much are going to make every effort to preserve as much material as we possibly can, and the idea of having some of the original siding attached to the more structural siding to give it that, have that exact experience of what it used to be is something that we absolutely have thought of. Challenge we have is that we believe it'll be very challenging to be able to deconstruct that facility in the state that it's in right now, and it may be very difficult to preserve enough material to be able to cover two sides, three sides, or even one side, and that is something that we would try very hard to do, but it may be very difficult to achieve.
Great. Then to follow up on that, to the chair, is there any potential salvage from the Phoenix net loft that has not the same wood, but at least a lot closer in similarity? Could we salvage some of the immense amount of siding from that project?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, the siding, Council may recall, is that the siding is impregnated with lead. And wood impregnated with lead is not a material that we can use for safety reasons, on new structures and the likes. We have visited quite extensively with at the design stage, and even with the contractor that's now on site, and looking at that ability for them to plane down the wood and preserve as much as they possibly can while getting rid of all the lead. That's a hit and miss scenario, and I would suggest at this time it's not likely that siding would be able to be reused. Having said that, at the Phoenix Net Loft, there is a number of preservation activities that are taking place. Approximately 20% of the trusses are being salvaged. All of the floorboards, for example, on the second floor, are in the process of being salvaged and reused on the Phoenix Net Loft project in that particular case, and or stored at 7400 River Road for future use on a different project, which possibly could include the First Nations bunkhouse if there's a fit for that.
I appreciate all that. Thank you so much.
Okay, I've got a couple of comments. One in answer to Bill's question, I have some of the names of the individuals that lived in Stevenson in Leonard Ham's records. When he passed away, he bequeathed me all of his records of the Stevenson waterfront. And there was the Point family, the Guerin family, and the Sparrow family were major families. The Points and the Guerins lived at Gary Point, and where the Imperial Academy was, there was a village there. The Sparrows, I believe, were from Tawasin and lived further up the river. Now, they may have been involved in this one, we don't know. So we would need to consult with both the Musqueam and the Tawasin as to who would know anything about this building. No, neither one of them know any more about it than I do, because I've got Glenn Ham's papers, and he was doing the work for them. And so I think that we're all vague on exactly which group built the building and who lived there. The second thing I wanted to comment on in terms of reconstruction, I would recommend highly to staff that we do exactly what we did with the Murakami Boat Works. We thought we were going to save it. It collapsed and fell down, and we got a better building because of it. And nearly all of the siding is new what we used to call barn boards. I don't know if they make them. You may have to get them milled 1x12. Barn boards may have to be milled now. You may be able to find a yard that has them in stock. But that's what we used. And what we did, we put regular 2x4 construction wall up with board and batten on the outside, insulated and with all the plastic and everything else on the inside, and then put the 1x12 boards on the inside, so it looked like it would have looked if there's nothing in between. And when you look at the boat shed, unless you look through the cracks between the boards, you don't realize that actually there's insulation and a 4-inch thick wall between it and the outside boards. It looks quite normal. And that way you've got a building that's actually quite usable and easier to heat and look after. So I would advise it very strongly. What we did save, believe it or not, we saved almost all of the 2x4s and trusses in the building. They weren't damaged, and that's why when you get to the Murakami Boat Works, they're dark brown in color from years of smoke and work in the boat works. And they're all original, but they aren't holding anything up. Just the 2x4 walls that are holding it all up. So I'd recommend that one highly. Okay, any further discussion or questions? Okay, somebody move the motion. Okay, all those in favor? Contrary, carried. Okay, I'd like to, contrary, carried, yeah. I'd like to move my referral that I typed up and sent to everybody requesting that staff investigate the addition of the welcoming post along the front, and that would include talking to the various people in the Musqueam and Tawasin First Nation and getting their approval and getting their artists to do the work. So, any discussion on that one? Moved to second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary?
Great.
Carried. Okay, managers report. And Chuck, I believe you got a question under managers report.
Yes.
And Mr. Chair, we do have a number of managers' reports, but I'll just remind staff to keep them brief, please. And they know what order they're going in.
So, Harold, you want me to go ahead first?
Okay, who's first?
Okay, I just mentioned that I would like to request for an update.
Yeah, maybe Chuck can ask the question first.
Pardon? Okay, I just want to mention that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want staff to. I would request staff to have an update on the situation or the recommendation for the corner, southeast corner, or number 5 and Canby. I remember that a few years ago we had an application to change the destination in the OCP for that part of the area. And it went to public hearing, and then it was being referred back to staff. So I just want to know what staff's update, anything new on that. And I raised this question because, I received I was being approached by a Chinese Chinese family. They've been living in that area for many years, and for the last 10 years, they were trying to do something with their house to rebuild or whatever. And because of the capacity of the destination, they were somehow stuck. They initiated the process, but they did not. They were not able to go anywhere. And recently, after 10 years, the husband just passed away about a month ago. And one of his dying wishes was to have this application for rebuilding the house be completed. So I just want staff to see, what has been the progress after that recommendation was being referred back to staff.
Through the chair,
staff have any comments?
yes, through the chair to Councillor Al, it's Todd here. I can answer that. So currently, these properties, it's one of a number of properties which are designated in the park, designated as park in the OCP, but are not in the Parks DCC program, and there is currently no intent to acquire them for parks. The report you mentioned or spoke of was back in 2016 when it came forward through a development process. At that time, there was no direct referral for removing the parks designation. And at the same time, there was a couple of residents that did come forward asking the city to acquire the land for parks. These sites are similar to a number of sites we have within the community whereby parks needs to do some further analysis and review as to parks needs. Do we need the land? Do we not for future expansion? And as needed, we would bring forward a zoning amendment report. We have that on our 2021 work plan, and that's planned to come forward in Q4 of this year. I just wanted to make an additional comment is the residents are open to do redevelopment or renovations of their property within the existing zoning. The only way there would be challenges if they come forward for rezoning due to the OCP noted as the park property.
So when do you think the report can come back to council?
We have that slated for Q4 of this year.
Okay. Could it be faster? Because I really have sympathy for the old couples. Yes, they could do something about renovating their home, but because of the OCP designation as a park space, I think that really restricts what they can do with the building, and also that makes it whether or not if they should really do the work and spend that money if things could change in the future. So I hope that the report can come back faster because, again, as I mentioned, they have been waiting for that for 10 years, and now the husband died.
Through the chair to Councillor Al, yes, we can see if we can bring that forward, and I would also suggest that the family contacts our planning department to see what items they may need or not.
Thank you.
Manager reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was asked to give you an update on the status of Richmond sport fields and other outdoor sport amenities, which are presently open for informal and formal use as per the provincial health orders. The tennis courts and pickleball are open for singles play, all ages. Basketball courts and lacrosse boxes for individuals, up to 4 individuals. No games, no scrimmages allowed. Again, all ages. And our artificial turf fields are open for all of our sport groups up to the age of 21. So our various soccer groups are out there, including lacrosse, and all of those groups at this time, because of the health orders, they're working on skill development and drills, as they have to maintain 3-meter spacing. So they can't work on any scrimmaging or games at this time. All groups or teams 22 years and up adults have been off the field since mid-November with previous health orders. And all of our, part of that getting out on the sport fields, all the groups that are out there, they do have a COVID safety plan as per the health order and via sport. We also note that we do have signage up on all of our artificial turf, our basketball, pickleball, tennis, and lacrosse, advising people of the current expectations and rules. And then we work with bylaws on a weekly basis in terms of helping them, providing them information on who's out on the fields and who has a permit and the times they are. So if they have to enforce, they can enforce the health orders. And if there's any, I'm open to any questions from the committee.
Okay, any questions? Looks like Michael.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure if, Greg, you were going to speak later about outdoor sheltered public space, but maybe I can just tie the question in here, because many of these are in places where there is recreation happening. So on the memo to us, you had mentioned there was 2 more sites that were getting, there was planning for the outdoor shelter. I'm not sure, is there any further update on the London Steveston Park and the Tate Waterfront Park outdoor shelters? Are they still what stage are they at? And then finally, the dedicated web page that you said was going to be up for outdoor shelter public space, is that up? Those are my questions.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I'm going to have to defer on the updates to Todd and his staff, as that's part of the park development.
Greg, through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I'll speak to London Steveston. We're still waiting for completion on the shelter. The foundation work is complete, and we're expecting that to come in, I believe, within the next month for completion on that one. And then over to Jason Juno on Tate and the others.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, there's no plan for a shelter in the Tate neighborhood or waterfront park, as far as I'm aware of. That park has been developed by the developer, and it's delayed last year due to COVID. We do understand that construction will be underway very soon. Our staff can double check to see if they have further plans to incorporate any shelter in that area, and get back to council.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, that was just in the last line of our October 20th memo. It had mentioned Tate Waterfront Park, so I thought I'd ask. And then, does anyone know about the webpage for the lists of our outdoor sheltered public spaces? Is that
through the chair, Councillor Wolf? We will have to get you an update on that, and we'll get back to you.
I appreciate those questions. They were a little stretched, but thanks.
And just to clarify, because I don't think we have our public art staff on the call, but I think that the project at Tate involves a public art project, which will result in the creation of a covered shelter. So it's in the works. It's just because it wasn't specifically on the agenda, we don't have the right staff here to talk about that. Thank you.
Okay, next matter issues report.
I just wanted to draw an attention that was distributed last week in regarding 2 new film studios that opened in the city in 2020. Our first studio opened in 2018. We now have 6 film studios, and there'll be an additional memo coming out later this week in regards to a long-term or fairly long-term lease of Triangle Road for some more film activity. We'll be doing the annual film and year review report later this year once we gather some more information from the region.
Okay. Any more questions? Next.
Yeah, I'm just wanting to draw attention to a memo that was sent out on January 12th about the vandalism at Richmond Nature Park East. We just wanted to ensure that everyone had a chance to review it before we move forward with our plans of increasing visibility to hopefully prevent future vandalism in that park. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Yeah, I see Carol's hand is up. Carol?
Yeah, I wanted to ask some questions regarding the memo of January 19th from Todd Gross regarding the Q4 2020 construction update for parks and capital projects. Is this the appropriate time, or should I wait till after all the managers have spoken?
Can't hear.
Couldn't hear the question specifically.
Hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Gross sent out a memo on January 19th regarding the Q4 2020 construction update on park capital projects. I had a few questions on that, and I just wondered when would be a good time to ask them.
So Dennis, sure, we can answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Is that okay, Mr. Chair? All right. On page.
Go ahead.
Thank you. On page 3, the Garden City lands, the current site, we're developing future plans for site amenities. I mean, those are future site amenities that we've already done. We've studied the heck out of the Garden City lands, and it says that the current site conditions as well as developing future plans, but we already have those. When can we get going?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, unfortunately I can't hear your question.
We're losing you, Carol. I don't know what it is. Right.
Yeah.
Speak into the mic.
The mic, okay. I don't know what else I can. Okay, you know what? I'll turn off the video.
Cutting you out.
If I turn off the video, can you hear me now?
Nope.
Okay, I think we lost Carol completely. Anyway,
I don't know what else to do.
Yeah?
I'll send a.
So Dan, we can certainly respond to you by email. Yes, super, thank you. Mr. Chair, we do have a couple of more updates.
Just for Carol, in the future when this happens, try your cell phone. I found it worked good last night.
Okay.
Okay, next update.
Actually, can I get a question in to Ms. Sargent it's on the topic of the nature park?
Yeah, Michael, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my question, I'm very familiar with this site. It's a place I frequent, the East Nature Park opposite the Auto Mall. And yeah, I have the memo in front of me, January 11th. I've spoken with this as the council liaison for the Richmond Nature Park. And there was, lots of issues, more than just this one vandalism event that have been kind of ongoing. My question here is about the work that's to make higher visibility in the parking lot. I have a little bit of a concern that I personally wanted to express. So as what was done in front of the Richmond Nature Park house, I'm guessing that's the similar type of work we're talking about here, where the lower branches are trimmed up to 10 feet or something like that, and you can see in from the road. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, yes, I believe that is the intention, is to just raise up the tree canopy a bit and then thin some of the understory brush.
Great. Then if I could just add in what would work best when doing that is to ensure you fully remove the blackberry, but you keep the native plants. And along there is still lots of salal. I don't know if there's still bog Labrador tea in there, but there is close by. So if the work can be done in a way that there's a site identification and it's not straight to the chainsaw, because to have those native plants regrow, it takes them a lot longer than it would blackberry canes to cover that whole space. So if I could just get some confirmation that the work is going to be done with some environmental consultants checking the site before. Can I be assured that?
Yeah, through the chair of the council, well, we definitely will take that into consideration. We want to preserve as much of the habitat as possible.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 3 items that I'll try to be quite brief on. The first is I'm happy to announce that we will be introducing to the community the 2021 Branscombe House artist, which is Rachel Rosansky, who is a Canadian and internationally renowned artist, and she's got a special interest in exploring environment, sustainability, and science through the lens of the arts. And she's hoping to travel through the waterways of Richmond. She's done similar projects in the past. She's a kayaker. She's been on ships, and to examine the ecosystems and how they are shaped by the inhabitants of Richmond who live along those waterways. So we're going to be really excited to introduce Rachel to the community and to other staff, and there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration across the board. And if there's no questions on the Branscombe House artist, I can move on to the next one. Thank you. So the next, sorry. So the next item I have is...
Someone trying to ask a question? I think you're okay.
Okay, thank you. I'll move on to the Children's Arts Festival. So for the annual Children's Arts Festival, we have reimagined this year for the COVID reality. And so we have pivoted to online. There are 2 components. The first component is we're partnering with School District 38, and we're delivering 6 artist videos to the schools. And the schools will also get over 800 arts kits. And the teachers will be able to work with their students and those kits, and our professional artists will present their demonstrations, and we're hoping that there'll be great engagement for all the children in the schools that need that arts engagement right now. And those 6 videos will then be released to the general public on Family Day through social media and our website. And we did have a nod to the Lunar New Year Festival this year. And so we, along with Gateway Theatre, we have a partner artist who's going to be working on Chinese shadow puppets. And we have lots of other partners like the Richmond Art Gallery and the Richmond Public Library who are helping us bring the Children's Arts Festival to life, albeit in video format. And one last item on that, we just found out that through the BC Recreation and Parks Association, we did receive a small $1,000 grant, but we're going to make it go a long way. We're going to be adding subtitles onto all the videos, so families with that have members that have disabilities, like that are hearing impaired, will be able to enjoy those videos as well. And finally, we will be announcing the call for nominations. Yes, my last one is we will be announcing our call for nominations for the Richmond Arts Awards. And we already tried this out last year. It was quite successful. We couldn't have the actual ceremony, but we did feature the recipients through social media and with our partner, Richmond News, who is coming on board again this year. And it was very uplifting for the artists in the community to be have their profiles shared, especially during these sometimes bleak times. And we'll be following that same model again with our partners, the Richmond Arts Coalition, who are once again providing a $200 scholarship to the youth recipient, whoever that may be, and we'll be making those announcements in May.
Very good. That's it?
That's it. Thank you.
That's all of our manager's report. That's all of the manager's reports, other than to clarify for Councillor Wolf that yes, we do have the webpage set up with the list of covered outdoor spaces, so that is available, and we can certainly circulate the link. We're done. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes. Yeah, that concludes the meeting. Would somebody like to move we adjourn, and then we reconvene an in-camera meeting? And goodbye, Andy. All those in favor? Yeah, contrary, carried.